Hello and welcome, I'm Kira Scrivener, and today I'm going to do my June TBR, which is, really just a pile of possibilities because I go all over the place. I got 5 out of 15 last month, so pretty good record, guys, pretty good records. But the first two I've actually already started, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish them this month, and that is Jane Austen at Home. This is a biography by Lucy Worsley about Jane Austen, the very prominent author of the Regency era who really kind of created literature as we know today, and I'm a really huge fan. I've read all of her main works and some of her other works, and yeah, I just really want to dive into who she is. A lot of this information I already know because I spend way too much time sleuthing about her life, but this is the first biography I've read. It's really, really good. I just read her biography on Agatha Christie like the day before, which was technically May. So yeah, I began it like right after midnight and just have really, really enjoyed it. And then when I was watching Katie from Books and Things and like thinking about all these things, she started talking about Barnaby Rudge, which is a Dickens I haven't planned on reading, but it reminded me of Oliver Twist, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm in the mood. So I started Oliver Twist. I'm now like 3 hours in. I'm quite enjoying it. I know that it's not everyone's favorites because the children are not very childlike, but it's okay. The weirdest thing is that my nephew's name is Oliver and he is 1.5 and he is really, really cute. I'm very used to picturing Oliver as, my infant nephew, not as a boy in a workhouse in the 1830s, 1850s, or wherever this is set. So it's quite interesting from that perspective. But he has a hard life. It's interesting because I read David Copperfield last fall and then I read Demon Copperhead, didn't really like it, and I'm seeing more parallels in the way in which Barbara Kingsolver chose to adapt him in the way that Oliver's life goes as well. And then for the next book that I'm hoping to read is The Poppy War by Rf Quan. I really, really enjoyed her books before, and this is her most prominent series. She rewrites the history of 20th century China into like fantasy world and uses like poppies and stuff like that as drugs, and I believe this is probably connected to the ways in which England and the UK in general just kind of hushed opium into China. I've heard really, really great, brutal things about it, and I'm really excited for this. I might even get Yellowface by the end of the month. I'm waiting on my loans for that. So the next book is Nightcrawling by Laila Motley. This is one of the stellar books of last year. It is about this young girl who is 17 years old living in Oakland, and it's based on real events of, taking care of yourself, never having food, and the ways in which police and other people will extort you and abuse you in those situations. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really hard book, but I think that is a really important book, so I'm really excited for that. And the next book that I want to read is You Are Eating an Orange, You Are Naked, and this is by Shine King, and he is a Canadian author who writes very interesting books. It is about a translator in Toronto who travels throughout the world for his job and ends up in a lot of hotel rooms, and him and his lover lay in bed and tell these folk tales. And it is, I think, all written in second person, which sometimes weirds people out, but I think that it's supposed to be very odd and very unsettling. And the next book that I want to talk about is The Islands by Diane Irving, and this is a collection of short stories. I know nothing and have heard nothing about it except for that it appeared on my library, and I was like, yes, this sounds amazing, because it's some short stories that are connected about Jamaican women and women of Jamaican descent across the world, and it takes place from like 1950s London, 1960s Panama, all the way until modern day, like in the United States and throughout, and it talks about how they go everywhere to escape the ghosts of colonialism, and this sounds like exactly my kind of book. The next book is another book that I found through kind of just looking around, and it's called Wild and Precious, A Celebration of Mary Oliver. And this is an audiobook that has many of her most famous works as well as other people imitating her in celebration of her. And it is narrated by Sophia Bush. And I have really liked Sophia Bush and the ways in which she talks about things on podcasts and stuff over the last few years. And I like Mary Oliver, so I think this is going to be delightful. This book is my biggest adventure of this month because it has a 3.26 on Goodreads, but I'm determined I'm going to like it because it's called Edvika and the Hollywood Wives by Krishana Ramasetti. And it is about this woman who is in her 20s and she feels like a failed screenwriter, and she ends up meeting and quickly marrying an older film producer who's 41 years her elder, and then his first wife dies and leaves in her will $1 million to Julian's latest child bride as long as she divorces him. So she goes and reads this woman's biography, reads a confessional kind of music album, concept album by the second wife, and like watched the reality show of the third. And like, it is blurbed by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's the vibe that I want, with like cool, like more diverse, you know, representation in that, and I really think I will love it by the synopsis. So I'm really hoping that whoever is like reviewing this is wrong, because I want it to be right. Throughout the last few months, I've actually gotten through a lot of books, so I'm hoping that I might like kind of clear some of my currently reading shelf. So first of all, I have Whose Body by Dorothy L. Sayers, and this book I am 74 out of 185 pages in, quite enjoying it. It's a murder mystery about this dude who's in a tub, and he is a Jewish man and he's found there, and then another Jewish man disappears, and are they the same person? And I do think that there's going to be some anti-Semiticness. I wasn't sure because it's hard to tell in older works when things are satire, when things aren't satire, but I was recently reading Agatha Christie's biography by Lucy Worsley, in which she references the anti-Semiticness in this novel. And yeah, also in Oliver Twist, I'm currently like paused because it's like really racist and anti-Semitic in those scenes, and I'm like, oh no, not pleasant at all, don't like that. But I do think that I'll still finish it, and I will critique the problematicness alongside the goodness of it, hopefully. And then the next book, talking about some woman who is not always beloved, I have this book, Yoko Ono and Grapefruit. I really love Sarah Your Screen and her, you know, her endeavors on the art assignment, and my most popular video on this channel is talking about Yoko Ono, which is someone who can't even draw a stick figure. Is impressive that I have an art video outperforming anything that I'm at least somewhat qualified or more knowledgeable about. But I have actually read through the beginning of this and wrote some poems on it. It's just like very bizarre. Like, let me open up this, and it says, Fly Piece, Fly, 1963 summer. Okay, announcement piece 1. Give death announcements each time you move instead of giving announcements at the change of address. Send the same when you die, 1962 summer. Announcement piece 2. Give a moving announcement each time you die. Like, some of them are just like absurd. Painted to be stepped on. Leave a piece of canvas or finished painting on the floor or in the street. Like, some of it is really interesting, and it did inspire like that, and like I've really loved the idea of like thinking about art every single day and like making art less like highbrow and more just like, you know, able to be something that we do. Hide and seek. Hide until everybody goes home. Hide until everybody forgets about you. Hide until everybody dies. Like, some of it is kind of more metaphysical, I guess, and like a little depressing. Let's do one more. Oh, self-portrait. Like, look at this. Like, it had like some dollar stuff. Like, I just really like this. It feels like a book you can't read in one thing because you have to like develop it. So I'm always like daunted because I really do want to like take my time with it. Okay, supply goods store piece. Open a supply goods store where you sell body supplies. Tail, hair, lump, hump, horn, halo, the third eye, etc. Yeah, so grapefruit. This is like the weird things that I'm interested in. I have a very like torn apart version of Mere Christianity, which I can't find, but I'm supposedly reading it every morning, and I do really enjoy like opening my mornings with it, and I've been lapsed with it over May. So yeah, I think I'm like 38 out of probably like 150 pages. It's a general like Christian thought, and like I really like C.S. Lewis. He's very funny. I enjoy the fact that it just kind of lays out the elements of like what Christians believe in like the purest form, rather than like getting into all of the things that's like, you know, and it's not like you're wrong, I'm right. It's more just like, hey, here talk about it. So yeah, I find myself entertained and thinking about the things that he brings up each day, and I really like that. And then I have The Fellowship of the Ring. I'm reading this with my nephew, and it is going to be a while because he is age 7 and we read a chapter a night. So yeah, I am currently in the midst of it. If I'm done by like November, I will be proud of myself. The Hobbit took from February until May. So to put that in perspective, it's an ongoing project. And then Why Didn't Anyone Ask Evans is an Agatha Christie book that I started in August and I haven't finished. So because I've been thinking more about Agatha Christie, I should probably finish this book. And yeah, talking about other classic books, we have Gentlemen's Prefer Blondes. I really don't know what this is. I've never watched the movies. I just know the saying, and I didn't know that Anita Loos is actually an actress herself. She looked very brunette in the pictures that I saw, but pretty much she wrote diaries and stuff like that, and it appeared on like the availability of my library on audiobook, and I was like, yeah, I want to know what this is. So that is my whole thoughts behind it. And then Violets Are Blue, and this is by Barbara D, and it's like a middle grade novel dealing with a girl who like loves makeup and stuff like that, and like loves, you know, transforming herself. Her parents are going through a divorce, and then she finds out that her mother is struggling with addiction. And then I just found in a thrift store On the Trapline by David A. Robertson and Julie Flatt. I've really enjoyed their books before. Like, look at this beautiful art. Like, it's just really, really beautiful art and children's stories with a little more text than some. And yeah, I'm really interested. June in Canada is Indigenous Peoples Month, so I'm really excited to highlight some more Indigenous books. And I'll talk about Redemptor, and then I'll get there. And yeah, Redemptor is a book by Jordan Afico. I've read the first one twice, Raybearer, and it was one of my favorite books of 2020 and 2021, I think. So yeah, really, really enjoyed this book, and I haven't read the sequel. You know when you're like anticipating something so highly, like you feel nervous about doing it, and that's how I feel about Redemptor. But yeah, I think that I've been reading a lot of YA fantasy and really enjoying it, so I really need to finish this one when I'm on a high. And yeah, this is a book about a girl who has magical abilities, and she, from a very young age, is told to go into the court of this boy who's very innocent and very kind, and get on his side so that she can, you know, maybe do things that are not likely to have him end up alive. I have a bunch of Indigenous books that I want to read, and I'm not quite sure which mood I'm going to be in. Ones that I'm most anticipating are Night on Living Res. This is a book that is interconnected stories set on a reservation in the United States, and I'm really excited for that. I have Bear in My Heart at Wounded Knee, and this is a book that I started in December and I just haven't finished yet, but because I'm in like a nonfiction mood, I think that this book is going to be really interesting. It is done by a white author, but it is accepted in the Indigenous community as being good representations. The ways in which the United States and the Canadian governments dealt and mistreated Indigenous people look quite differently. So it is always interesting when I'm reading American books, because I learn a lot that I wouldn't learn in school or that I don't read by reading Canadian books. And Indians on Vacation. I really enjoy Thomas King as an author. He's a local author to me and just writes such funny and poignant books that I really love. And I think because I love Inconvenient Indian and I love 77 Fragments of Ruin, that like I just feel so much anticipation with reading him. But I do really, really need to read this, and I think that I'm going to love it and laugh and also just have joy in it. And then I also want to read The Mirror Thieves. I talked about being a little bit on a YA fantasy kick, and this is a book that I own. I actually don't know where it is on my shelf. It's somewhere there. And yeah, she's a Canadian author from BC, and it's actually turned into a TV show. Like, it's quite well known in Canada, and I think because of that, I've been like always like a little bit like scared again. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I hype books up and then I get scared. But yeah, I'm really interested. I'm also interested in reading Barren Ground by David A. Robertson. I mentioned him a little bit earlier. This dude, he's quite prolific. And yeah, I find those books and covers just really beautiful. I'm really interested in reading them. I have a bunch of books. I also have some books by Danielle Daniel that I've been meaning to read. And I think because I have hyped them up, like I just stare at them and I get stressed. I don't know if these books that I'm just like, I need to read these. It's like The Poppy War as well as one of those books where I'm like, I've been meaning to read for so long and I can't read. Anyways, let me know if you psych yourself out of reading books that you really want to read. And yeah, let me know which books you're going to be picking up for June, and I would love to hear about it.